Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me as always is Ben Slinger.
I am always here waiting, watching to insert game design ideas into every conversation. Hi, I'm Ben Slinger.
Yes. Well, it's getting close to a certain time that you may not be around for too many more episodes.
Yes, I have a terminal illness. No, that's not it. My wife, we are having another child. She's due tomorrow. Could come at any moment. We do have a couple in the can, so it's possible that you won't go any weeks without with Ben missing. But
it's certainly possible.
It's certainly possible, and so if that needs to happen, we'll find some guests to fill in and to record with Trevor and there will still be releases every week. But
yes, I mean, we're not about to give up our 130 whatever number of episodes it is at this stage. Episodes without a guest. Oh, without a release.
Without missing. That's it. We're not breaking that streak.
Yeah.
So I think we will jump right in, as usual, to some click pitch.
Yes.
And this is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us, not a static word generator, a random word generator.
Fantastic.
And yeah, it's great. It's probably deterministic random. I don't think it's true chaotic,
Well, I kind of proved it.
pulling from the decay of an atom.
I did kind of prove it. If you do happen to click at the exact same time, you do get the same word.
So there's maybe some sort of time-based seed. But it's random enough for our usage. Oh man, this intro is interesting tonight. Anyway, we each click refresh. We get a new word, and we put those words together into a game design. We magic it out of the ether, and all of a sudden, there's an idea. There's a game. So let's show the audience how that works. 2.5 minutes into the episode.
3, 2, 1, click.
Forge.
Simulation.
Ooh, a forge simulation. Okay, well, all right, so do we want to take simulation as just something to do with the game, as in we are going to simulate something in this game?
I've been watching a show called Blown Away on Netflix.
Yes, this is the glass-blowing reality kind of TV show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was waiting for the perfect set of words to come up so that I could actually talk about this. And guess what? It happened first today.
This is it. All right. Tell me your glass-blowing game
VR
idea.
Glass blowing.
Okay.
So
all right.
It uses the microphone
is there
for
I was about to say, do we need a Trevor's custom peripheral?
No, because VR headsets have bloody microphones, and they can detect when...
They can. But
it worked very well with the DS, so it can work very well with VR.
The thing is, though, glass blowing, I think, it's a fine art, and there's a difference between sort of giving a nice little gentle and
a forceful
blowing up a balloon or blow dart sort of situation where you really need to puff out your cheeks, like playing a trumpet. I think there needs to be some subtlety there, some nuance to how you are blowing out that glass.
So in watching the show, it actually goes to sort of show that the majority of the work of the artist is actually not in the blowing part, but in the shaping. So,
true.
Yes, it's about glass blowing, but quite often they just got like the assistant to do all the blowing. Like they do an initial couple of blows, but then they just be working on the actual shaping of it and telling them whether to blow or how hard to blow and that sort of stuff. And it's like tell them when to stop, and it's all about getting the shape right.
Sure, and look, obviously in VR that's where you're gonna have a bit more finesse and a bit more gameplay anyway.
Yeah, so you're gonna have some tools that you can use to like shape and create like the holes that you need to. You can get the glass out of the forge or whatever it is, and put like to reheat everything up, you have to put the object that you want to reheat into the glory hole. Yes, that is actually what it's called. And that is just
I have heard the thing.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so that's fine. The very sensitive blowing peripheral can be an optional extra. Maybe that's multiplayer, like you said, if they get their assistant to do most of the blowing. You're just telling them when to blow and how hard. There are also other types of games that I'll leave up to your imagination that we can use as peripheral for.
Or DLC, you know, I mean.
Well, I'm not sure you should be blowing glass while someone's blowing you. Like, that's
just call it the Glory Hole Trilogy, and then we've just got to come up with another version. Like, we're just going to come up with the third version.
Wasn't that Gears of War when they'd all come out of the ground? Wasn't that called a glory hole?
No, that was called a gory hole.
A gory hole? Oh. The Glory Hole Trilogy. I like it. All right, so in the Glory Hole Trilogy 1, the Book of Glass, you're running a fort, you're running a glass blowing. Is it a competition in the show?
Yes, it's a competition in the show, but I think you got sculpt mode in which you just get to sort of make whatever you want.
Of course.
Then you've got like challenge mode where you're trying to make like based off of a challenge, you know, it sort of says make something botanical, make something, you know, food like, make something, you know, and basically then you
and look, and there may also we probably also need a mode where it's just here, make this. You know, and the closer you get, the better.
Yeah.
And maybe that's sort of the first stage while you're still learning. And you can go through some tutorials on, okay, you know, what are the different colors of glass we need to make a stripy marble or whatever, or, you know, how do you keep the glass in the right shape so that you can then, you know, at the right time, whatever it is, sculpt out the pieces to make a glass animal or something, or a flower, or I don't know. I haven't watched the show. I've seen some glass sculpting and blowing before, but, those sort of different techniques. Now, of course, the simulation here is going to come in that we want this to be relatively accurately simulating molten glass.
Yes.
There's going to be some really nice shader work for the colors as it heats and cools, and you can really tell which bits of your glass are going to, you know, just how the different bits of your glass are going to move based on how hot and molten they are, how viscous they are at that point. So one thing, obviously, there's a lot of spinning that happens, right, to keep kind of the glass even and on there and not and for gravity to not take over. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is fair to say.
Yeah, that's interesting in VR, just because I feel like a big part of that is, you know, they've got the stick that it's on, and that's the physical thing that they're moving between their hands. How is that going to work? I guess you could.
It's going to work really, really well in like the index, because you can actually get the fingers sort of
around,
pretending to twist, sort of thing. If you get them moving in the right.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that's it. I guess it's just you just need to be you're holding it with one hand, and sort of the other hand is guiding it, kind of the way you have like the shotgun grip. In certain games, but your backhand is doing the twisting, the spinning back and forth, or that'd work. So moving on to Glory Hole Trilogy Part 2. No, I think there's some cool stuff you could do in VR there, but I think we'll 3, 2, and click unless you've got some more.
Well, I'm trying to think what Glory Hole Trilogy Part 3 is going to be.
I mean, there's this girl called Glory, and
so it's actually a Buffy.
She runs a bar.
It's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 5 thing of Glory running a bar.
Yes, running a bar. It's like a dive bar called the Glory Hole. Yeah, that's fine.
3, 2, 1, click.
Ooh, microfilm.
Pork.
Okay. feel like it's been a while since we've had anthropomorphic animals. Meaning my mind is going towards a spy thriller, but everyone are pigs.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's a bit of like Soylent Green going on where these pigs are realizing that bacon is pig.
And there's like a microfilm or a microdot.
Well, and the microfilm is just like, there's like it's a big conspiracy and there's data on the microfilm because there's been spying going on. Maybe in this world, maybe this is the opposite of Animal Farm, where in Animal Farm the pigs became the capitalist overlords.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in this case they're kind of the serfs, the peons a bit, and they are being taken advantage of, and they're being fed bacon, and being told that it's this amazing food. Everyone loves bacon. You're so lucky that you get bacon every day,
and it's that crispy stuff too.
Oh, it's the good stuff. It's the good stuff. But this is about that one plucky piglet, teenage pig, I don't know.
Yep.
Who discovers that... All right, so who's oppressing these pigs?
I want to say dolphins.
I mean, they've got the intelligence for it. They definitely put on a friendly front that could be hiding something sinister.
Yep.
They don't have anything close to opposable thumbs, but that's probably not all that necessary.
They're so smart that they made robotic appendages that they can...
It's robotic appendages. Okay. I was thinking maybe they had their sort of middle management minions where, like, the dolphins...
I'm actually imagining
kind of the overlords.
I'm imagining like a dolphin in like this tank, in which they're, it's this big robotic tank, very clear on the outside. You can see, the whole dolphin body sort of floating and swimming around, but it's like also, this big hulking robot.
All right. I like the idea then that the dolphins are the overlords, and they definitely travel around in these big tanks. The tanks, though, are pulled by, horses or something. There are other creatures, other animals that are working for the dolphins, and some of them are probably, privy to the fact that the pigs are being, fed their own flesh, their own delicious, crispy flesh.
Oh, yeah. They're the ones that actually organize this whole thing.
Well, and the dolphins probably find it hard to cook bacon and butcher things. The dolphins have basically been breeding these pigs for slave labor, and they, for whatever reason, they've been very successful at creating this whole class of slave pigs. And they have so many that they're like, oh, well, we don't just need to use these for slave labor. We can save on pig feed and literally just, when we've got too many of them, feed them to themselves.
Okay, yep.
And so, this has been going on for some time, I'd say.
Yeah, I think because of the whole way that the mad cow disease and all that sort of stuff happened in Britain from... cows eating other cows and that sort of stuff. And it ended up, causing some sort of mutation. I think in this, what happens to the pigs is they start getting a little bit more intelligent, but they also turn a shade of green.
Okay. Like their skin, or is this after they're cooked into bacon?
I think at first it's the bacon starts turning green, but then after a while the whole skin actually turns like a greenish color to the point that it actually turns like a bright green by the end of the game when they finally destroy all the dolphins, take over, and then start stealing like some birds' eggs and start eating the eggs, and the whole thing sort of goes over again.
Oh, so now the pigs are in charge.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure those birds may get a little bit angry, but
Okay, I see where you go. It took me a few moments to figure that out, but sure.
Yeah, they gradually lose all their limbs and just turn into like.
It's our secret prequel. It's our sequel.
Exactly.
No, that doesn't work. All right, so we've got the base world.
Oh, that was great.
We've got the base world building. Let's talk about the gameplay. I'm thinking maybe this is a bit of a stealth game, just because there's sort of the spying going on, and you are this. I don't know if you're a pig with any special kind of stealth skills, or if you've just sort of, you stumbled across something that made you want to investigate further. But yeah, I'm.
So I think early on in the game, you have like these lowly sort of pigs in almost like a medieval sort of time. They're sort of like toiling away in the farmland, and you see like, you know that whole thing where like royalty gets hoisted on top of like 4 people's shoulders in like a.
Right, yeah. I can't remember what that's called, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yes.
So basically, it's got this huge curtain around it, and like it's coming down the road, and then the curtain gets pulled off, and it's just this huge glass tank with a dolphin in it, and basically goes, "You there, pigant," or whatever it is, sort of like the peasant version, but with pigs. Come here. I want to give you a treat, and then they give him bacon and all this sort of stuff, and ask this one pig to come along with them to the town. And basically it's just maybe a story of this one pig's family and his descendants over the years.
Okay, so you're saying we follow multiple generations?
Yeah, sort of, because you're not going to turn like, and it's like the pigs from the pink to green in the one generation. It's going to happen over generations. So,
but I don't think it's a genetic thing. I think it's because they're eating more and more bacon.
Okay,
and there's this like virus that's spreading or something. Because I feel like we need a main protagonist. I'm fine. I think yes, setting it in sort of a medieval kind of analog to our own history, where you've got the lords, the dolphin lords,
but it's maybe got the steampunky sort of stuff of like your Wild West with Will Smith, where they got like
so
huge,
you've got
giant
some
robots,
sort of mechanical robot sort of things. And yeah, I think you don't reveal the dolphins with any sort of robotic limbs and stuff until like Act 3. Like that's one of the big things. Yeah, like, oh shit! Now the dolphins actually have some sort of way to.
Looks like a big metal spider.
yeah, totally. But yeah, I think gameplay wise, you could still start it out like that. That's sort of your little intro. But I do like the idea of just the dolphin comes out, and it's like, all right, look, I've got your treats here. It's dinner time, and just all these pigs run over, and there's a big trough, and you just see all this crispy bacon being poured into it, and they start munching away on it and digging in, and
salty.
As a player, you're just going like, what the fuck is going on? These cannibal pigs. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's an interesting narrative story you could tell there, but I think we'll move on.
Yep. So the Secruel, the secret prequel,
the sequel to Angry Birds.
Yes,
but we don't say that because it's a secret. That's why it's a sequel.
That was the best. 3, 2, 1, click.
3, 2, 1, click.
Warping,
hurdling.
So
warping?
Yeah, warping. I've just got this idea of like a Space Olympics sort of thing, except it's got like portals and stuff that you...
That's exactly where I went to. Like some sort of future Olympics. Where you've got all these additional tools that over the years, like the rules of these traditional Olympic sports have just kind of slipped as technology has changed and genetic engineering has taken hold. And yeah,
what I'm almost picturing is like it's got portal mechanics, but it's like doing a typical thing at the Olympics of, you got to hurdle over X number of hurdles and then finish the race, but there's only one hurdle there. So you basically got to set up your 2 portals at first. So you're jumping over the one hurdle continuously, and then you fire off to the side. And
oh, I see what you mean. Well, I think let's just think about this as, let's look at different Olympic sports and bring them into the future.
Yep.
5 centuries or something, and whatever. We've got all these different classic, futuristic technologies. With like portals and lasers and whatever else.
Okay, so the first one I want to think about is the high jump.
Okay. Now, I think that one does make some sense with those sort of portal mechanics where to get high enough, you might need to jump off a high thing into a portal that then warps you in, like, to
launches
come out
you
of the ground.
up to then, be able to get over, the bar and that sort of stuff. So you got to work out, okay, I can get up to the top there and then I get enough energy coming down here, and how many portals that can you sort of link together to get the height that you need to get over this, bar.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's a combination. Maybe they've, sort of made the Olympic Games more efficient, and they've combined some of the different Olympic sports.
Kind of like pole vault and high jump together.
Well, I was more thinking that there's like some sort of climbing. Do they have a climbing thing? Maybe just gymnastics. Because basically what I was thinking is there's a time limit, and you have to climb high enough to then jump down into a portal and then have placed your other portal at the right spot to get over the high jump or / pole vault. It's the portal vault.
Yep. Love it. But it can't be, it can't be called portal vault because we don't have the license from Valve this time.
No, okay. It's off-brand portals. We had warping, so are they like warples? Yeah. And they're not orange and blue.
No.
They're green and pink.
Yep. That makes perfect. Or green and purple.
Mm-hmm. Green and purple. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Green and purple warples.
Yep.
And
and you don't have a gun, you've got a hose.
Wait, what? Oh, right. A warple hose. I gotcha. Yep. So is this first person? Like, are we saying we take the classic warple gameplay and except that obviously with a hose you have a limited reach. You have to plug it into the warple tap, the warp tap.
Yep.
That gives you your warp juice. And
the fact that warp juice is now a thing is just kind of wrong.
Well, maybe it doesn't create, oval shaped warples.
It's just splotches.
It's it's like a spray. So you switch it to green and then you go like spray it where you need to.
Yep.
And then you switch it to purple and spray it wherever else you need to. And those two sections are connected. Now,
if you've missed some of it,
does that alter the shape? Like, do the shapes have to match up well enough?
No, I think our warple technology is so advanced that it even sort of evens itself out. There's no such thing as like a cheese grater effect or
as a misshapen kind of that's probably wise.
As in you don't have to worry about it. Like you can even lob out a stream of warp juice into a spot. As long as it hits a spot, then it's fine.
Yeah. Here's the thing that's interesting about warp juice. Can you create warp juice balloons that you fill up?
Ooh.
with the different colors of warp juice.
I think
that gives you some new techniques.
That really does. It means that you've only got a limited.
I'm actually kind of moving away from the Olympics thing.
Yeah.
Maybe the narrative of this game is set around Olympic sports or the Olympic Games in some way, but you move away from that, and it is more of a traditional first person puzzler, but it's warp juice.
Okay, so I'm loving the idea that it starts off as like you're an athlete at this Olympic Games, and then you finish your events on the first day, and just as you're leaving, you get attacked by like a crazed one of those balloon artists, that. Oh, okay. That has like a whole belt full of balloons, but he's like attacking you with like these blown up novelty hammers and stuff like that.
Okay, yep,
so
sure.
You beat him, and
so you stand there,
and now,
while he whacks you with a novelty.
You've got a belt of all these balloons in which you can now take your warp juice with you, because you've now got all the balloons to fill up with warp juice.
So, did you have that warp juice in the first place because you're a competitor in these like future Olympics? Okay,
yeah. So the very first, first third of the game is you with the hose doing like the Warple Olympic,
the Warple Olympic Games. Oh, I just figured it out: diving and high jump, or like pole vault.
Yep.
Yeah. Then it's a matter of you have to
diving into like a puddle.
Yeah, into a puddle of warp juice. And so it's about the technique as you come down, how cleanly you get into that puddle. And then of course you go like flying up into the air, and you have to go over the pole, like the hot super high bar.
And then come out the other side and come out again and land up on where you dove from.
On the other side, yeah, it's and stick the landing and do your little arms up. Da-da. Yeah, totally. That's your big event. So maybe that's your character's main event.
Yeah, so I'm kind of liking the idea of it being third person, because flipping in first person could really suck.
True, yeah. That's interesting. I could see a third person game working with these sort of mechanics.
Yeah.
I guess you just have to figure out how the camera would work if the other side of your Warple is elsewhere, right? Does it just kind of flick over there or something, or does it keep, maybe the levels are created in such
I think it follows through.
Oh, I see. It's a behind the shoulder kind of third person. Okay. That's probably fine. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, but or you're diving, you're not going to see it from the side, and you're not going to see it from sort of you seeing yourself go down. It's probably going to go over the top and watch you go down into this Warple.
Actually, that's kind of cool. I do actually love the visual of, like sort of over the shoulder or like behind, seeing the dive, the camera following down, except of course you're diving into a Warple. So it's actually, as you go through it, you're no longer diving up. You're now diving down. You're now flying up. This is all one smooth motion.
Yeah.
Gravity takes hold. Like, you've got to do some moves to hit the right movements to get over the bar, and then And then
as you're reaching the peak of your jump, that's when like the hose is actually running out of space. You've now got to fire the warp juice down at the bottom. That's where it, because you've got to get over the pole, you've now got to create a new portal or new Warple.
Right, I forgot about the hose. So what, are you diving with
the hose?
A hose that's connected to something?
Yeah, so
like this huge long hose.
You've got it with you. You're doing flips on a reel. And shit. You're diving. As soon as what's really crazy about this is as soon as you fire it down, basically the hose that you've got in your hand disconnects from the old Warple, because that Warple is no longer there. So it's no longer tethered. So basically you can use it as sort of like a a pivot point sort of thing for a little bit, but then as soon as you fire off the next warple, your hose is detached, so it can no longer help you.
Yeah, that's trippy.
Yep.
I like it though. So maybe you've got like a tank. I feel like you've kind of got a tank of warp juice that gives you a limited supply, but you can only fire. It's like enough for one burst or something. So if you're not tethered, then you can't refill that. You've got like a limited.
Yeah.
It's a limited resource at this point. And so that could really drive the puzzle design because you've got these fucking warp taps, these warp points that you can hook your hose onto. And maybe initially you literally have to walk over and hook it on, and later in the game you get the ability to like shoot out the hose and attach it in some way from a distance so that you might, for example, a puzzle room starts, whatever the narrative context is. You come in, there's no tap, you've got room for one warple. You've got enough juice for one warple.
You don't have many balloons filled up at the moment, so you can't rely on that. You have to rely on the hose because you don't have. You
have to rely on the hose.
You don't have a thin enough nozzle to actually, fill up your balloons.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't have physical access to the tap.
Yep.
The warp tap. So yeah, this might be the first time that you find now I get an attachment for my warp tank, which lets me magnetically, throw the hose, over something or through a hole or even through a warple if that's, if that's what the puzzle is, hook it up to the tank and then you've got more of your limited supply of warp juice.
Yep.
I feel like there's a lot of cool puzzle mechanics you could do that haven't that weren't explored in a game like the Portal series.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool. That is very cool.
I like it.
I like warples.
I like warples. 3, 2, 1, click. Cashew.
Rectangle.
Cashew rectangle.
Have you ever seen a cashew that hasn't been deshelled yet? Have you seen it when it's on a tree?
I probably have, but I'm going to Google it.
Google it because you'll realize just how much waste there is in a cashew. The cashew nut is only this one tiny little part of it. The rest of it is like a cashew fruit.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
The little green bit hanging off the end is the nut?
Yep.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, they're weird.
Yes, very weird.
I don't eat them anyway.
I love cashews. But, yeah, so I'm thinking something around the wastage of cashews.
I'm now intrigued by the shape of these things. I feel like we need to explore, they're like weird little birthing pods. I feel like this is the Matrix, but cashews or something. They look like a tree of these reminds me of we're harvesting these things for their fucking body electricity so we can run a simulated reality.
I kind of like the idea that you remember a couple of weeks ago how we had that 2D shape world that we took into the 3D and all that sort of stuff. I like the idea that one of the rectangles gets woken up out of there and wakes up out of this cashew pod.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, we can go back to that world. So it turns out that the whole 2D world is a simulated reality. It's just they didn't have the computing power to make something like the Matrix, so they had to make that two-dimensional world.
I'm picturing that it was in the 80s or something like that. So
yeah, exactly.
It's simple shapes.
Yeah. Very simple pixelated shapes. So I don't think maybe this is a sequel or something. Like I don't think we need to explore even the 2D world that much initially. Obviously, it starts in that world.
Yep.
Oh, well, I mean, this is the thing, actually. It almost makes me want to retcon that past game because the character in that game is obviously the one. Because they saw outside the 2D-ness of their world.
So he wasn't just a wizard, but he was actually the one.
Yeah, exactly. Although when you're talking about dimensions, maybe that actually makes him a one-dimensional thing. No, I think all right. Let's not tie this directly into that game.
But just the idea of it coming from a 2D.
Yeah, maybe this is like an anthology series for us where we explore dimensional differences between 1 to 4 dimensions, perhaps.
What's the 4th dimension again? Is that just time?
It's probably time, or it could be, we can create those cool
hypercubes.
Hypercubes, yeah. No, it's probably time. I'm not smart enough for hypercubes. But anyway, we're not doing that in this one anyway. This one is about the simulated 2D world and the being that woke up in a cashew pod.
Yep.
After they were freed from it.
So are they cashews or are they...
God, it's the Nutrix. I think we have to do nuts now.
Yeah, the Nutrix.
Yeah.
God.
Okay, so who is enslaving these cashews to harvest? Their
I kind of like the idea that because this is
essence,
sort of like that other movie by the Wachowskis or whatever, that unlike it being a like an androidy sort of thing, there it's actually humans that are enslaving these cashew-like aliens.
Okay, yeah, all right.
I like the idea that
are they cashew-sized?
They're cashew-sized, and it turns out that if you let the cashews mature to a certain point, they taste the best. But if they go too far, they actually turn into like sentient alien things walking around.
Right. Okay. So this is actually kind of set in our real world.
Yes.
Right.
Turns out that like many, many years ago, Edward Q. Cashew, he found like this mysterious pod on the ground.
Yep.
It had come down like through some meteor shower and all this sort of stuff, and just found this one pod on the ground, and then sort of found it. Oh, maybe found 3 of them, but this one particular one was sort of roasted, and so he put it in his mouth and goes, "Oh yeah, that's an awesome nutty taste," and basically planted the husk, and it grew into a tree. He didn't realize at the time it was actually, these were sentient aliens and this was a birthing pod. But
sure.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a Futurama Poplars vibe thing going on too, right? So, okay, so you're saying, though, that this is set in a time now where they've realized that these are sentient creatures.
Yes.
Have they, because presumably, well, is it just part of this, because are they, that's a lot of questions and sentences without ends to them. But what I'm getting at is, have they changed these pods in some way to keep them kind of from waking up, or does the life cycle of these aliens rely on some sort of external force to pull them out, and otherwise they just continue in there? And also now, because we've got the whole, like, we wanted the whole generated 2-dimensional Nutrix, have the humans done that? Or is that just like...
So I think
this tree...
I think what happened early on was...
kind of generates a shared reality or something.
I think what happened early on was, like, Edward Q. Cashew's descendants who are all obviously cashew farmers, they just originally let things grow naturally, and they just made sure that they harvested at the right time. But what they actually found was in the late 70s to early 80s, they created like this computer program that would actually compress time, and basically the alien consciousness would actually grow faster when it was stimulated in this way, so that the cashews in the real world were actually growing a lot faster.
Now, did they develop this knowing that these things were sentient creatures at this point, though? Okay, so at what point did Edward Q. Cashew or his descendants realize that these were that they were basically eating, the larvae?
I think it was Edward Q. Cashew that actually found it out himself after a couple of seasons harvest. He got sick one year.
Yep.
And couldn't go out to harvest, and literally it came out 3 days later than when he would normally harvest, and these cashews were walking around. Like they'd hatched and they were starting to walk around, and he realized what he did.
Okay. And they've like dropped off their like seed pod.
Basically
pods.
all these birthing pods had opened, and the cashews were nowhere to be found. And then he actually found, hiding in his barn or something like that, there was some cashew aliens, and but he realized that he's been making so much money. Oh my God, I
wish we had enough.
He'd been making so much money from selling these cashews that he murdered them all, and then, came up with, the rules of cashew farming.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I really wish we had enough of a fan base to do some fan art of these fucking cashew aliens. That's so funny. All right, so what we are making a game here.
Yes.
That's the goal of this podcast. Who do you play? Are you playing a cashew?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're playing a rectangle who you find out is actually a cashew.
Okay, so at the start of this game, you're in a 2D world.
Yes.
Let's obviously, maybe let's move away from what we did with the last 2D world, where we're sort of exploring what they can see, and let's just make it that it's a 2-dimensional, like a pixel art game sort of thing.
Pixel art game, very, very simple shapes, and
exactly.
You sort of you're going to work and all this sort of stuff. Very similar to that unnamed film from the Wachowskis. That you're playing a character called Bio. And you go to work, and you get called in by Agent Thing, and some weird shit happens.
Well, Agent Star or something, is some sort of geometric shape. Agent Hexagon
or Agent Triangle, something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like the idea
Mr. Rectangle.
You get a
call from someone
Squarephius.
Squarephius, gotcha. Well, I was thinking though maybe he had to be
or
like
a
higher number of sides. Yeah, like he's a rhombus. Well, that's not more sides, but like he's slanted enough that makes sense. Wait, rhombus is slanted ones, or they're the anyway? Whatever.
Yes, or rhombius or something like that.
Rhombius. Yep.
And basically,
triangle. It's like Trinity is still Trinity, but she's just a triangle.
Yep.
All right, and so you kind of learn that this world is not what you think it is, and Rhombius offers to wake you up.
Yes.
And you've got the whole scene of the sweeping camera going across this cashew tree with these kind of slow-moving human hands, like coming up.
I'm just imagining like
pulling one off.
That basically every single one of these cashew plants actually has like a wire coming out. It looks kind of like Christmas lights when you first see them, but what it actually is like each little part is plugged into another part of the cashew, and
definitely, and that's how they're like feeding this world into them. Sure,
I kind of like the idea that it's all sort of lit up. It's very colourful. You got green, red, and orange and blue pods,
yellow, orange,
and there's
I love it.
Little cashew thing hanging off the bottom. And so the birthing pod opens
and it just
drops.
Yeah, it opens and it just drops. And you get this scene of the camera like following it down as it like grows its arms and legs and eyes or something.
There's no eyes to start off with, and
they kind of they just look like a cashew to start with, I think. But part of the birthing process is they kind of unfold from this curled up cashew shape. They really do look like fucking little embryos. And you land, and there's Rhombius and Trinity.
I imagine that you actually land down in that typical hero pose, with the single knee, arm out sort of thing, and you just land down, and it's like, then you stand up, and he goes, "Oh, we knew that you were special, but the fact that you actually landed in the hero pose,
landed in a hero pose." So here's the thing, though. Are there other sentient nuts in this world?
I think there must be.
Maybe they're like trying to go around. Maybe all nuts
are alien life forms.
But because of what humans have been doing, like they may not all be actually sentient anymore. Like their species have kind of been destroyed in certain ways, but then the goal is to like go around and like wake the peanuts.
Well, what I kind of like is that the you find an ancient text written from like some cashews that have actually lasted a long time, and they've actually evolved into the next stage of the cashew, because the cashew is still only a very small stage or very early stage in this alien's life.
Sure, it's like the caterpillar of
and. Basically, the cashews was sent as a rescue party for these maybe peanuts, maybe Brazil nuts,
or maybe just
like
all the nuts that are like trapped on Earth.
But it turns out that the cashew is actually like the most deadly one of all, because they're actually from like an assassin clan or something like that.
Right, or maybe they're just.
No, I like the idea of.
Yeah, okay, they're like a.
Cashew stealth assassin.
Maybe they're like they're actually themselves. They're actually themselves. It's a deep cut. This is the last Tenchu game that came out. Are they actually like a genetically engineered species of nut themselves?
Yep.
Who are kind of the defenders and the assassins of this vast like.
Nut
intergalactic network of nut beings.
This Nutrix, if you will.
Well, no, the Nutrix is
but I like the idea that it's like the humans happen to call it the Nutrix, but then it turns out that the bigger thing is also
that's
by the
actually
nuts,
what they call their big
the
interconnected.
well.
Yeah, okay. Because what I think happened basically is like it was a colony ship that was sent. They sent out colony ships all the time to colonize new planets and things, but one of them got sent to Earth, and the humans just like started fucking eating them all and breeding them in these ways that prevented them from reaching maturity. And so basically like these cashews are fucking saving their babies, the nut babies.
Yep.
Oh my God, can you imagine when they discover peanut butter?
Oh my God.
It's just like their children like ground into paste.
Yep. Oh, what about the final battle in like the satay factory?
Totally. Also, they're like their worst enemy is vegans.
Oh God!
I love that. I love when we discover a new ripe world of fucking lore to dig into.
Yep.
I think we'll revisit this world again, but for now, let's click.
Photocopy.
Solitaire.
Solitaire. Okay. So, for some reason, my head has gone to an old Paul Jennings world story that I read ages ago. Maybe unbelievable too. But there was a story about like a photocopying machine or something like that created a not perfect copy of basically the things that you copy in this thing. So
like living creatures. And
living creatures. Like one of the things that happened in the story was like he photocopied himself and all this sort of stuff, and ended up, they ended up fighting, and then when he looked in the mirror for the final time, he realized that, well, he seems to have all these memories of him being right-handed, but now he's left-handed and the mole's on the other side.
Right.
And,
right. So he was the photocopy.
He was basically the photocopy.
Okay.
But yeah, I kind of like the idea of it sort of being not necessarily a horror based around there, but the idea of maybe this puzzle in which you can, like a first-person puzzle game in which you can photocopy these items to create like duplicates and that sort of stuff. And
okay, yeah, I'm kind of almost going down the Portal route again, not with actual portals, but just in that sense of here's a puzzle space and we can explore it.
Yep.
In that, your main method of solving a puzzle is being able to make copies of things, but sometimes you need lots of copies, and a copy of a copy is low quality.
Going to degrade over time.
Yes. And I feel like managing that could be quite interesting.
Yep.
So let's think about the things that you're needing to copy.
Well, the first thing that came to mind was like a key.
Okay.
You've got a single key, and you can open up one of the locks, but you can't open up the other lock because like the key seems to be back to front. So if you photocopy the key, you get the mirror image of it, and therefore you can open both locks.
Yes.
So you can start playing around. That could
create some interesting things, because then you're creating puzzle situations where if you need an actual direct copy of something, you have to make 2 copies of it, because you then need to, like, you get a mirror copy and then you need to copy that mirror copy to get the original copy. But whatever degradation takes place is now obviously like doubled.
Yeah.
On that copy of a copy. Okay. That's quite interesting. I'm sort of trying to think of where the challenges are. So does the degradation, is it a time-based thing? Do they only last a certain amount of time? And so there's a time pressure of,
I think there's also maybe a strain on the original artifact. So if you copy copy like the key 2 or 3 times, basically you're sharing all the essence between all the different keys that you've now got. And basically they start breaking down if they go too far. So you can't make unlimited copies. You have to be able to strengthen it somehow.
Interesting. Okay. And so maybe there are areas of the level, or like some levels have, a strengthening beam or whatever.
Yep.
Where if you put your original item in this, you can copy it unlimited times, but if you take it out of there, then they're all going to disintegrate or explode or something,
Yeah.
Oh, and actually that's an interesting thing. Maybe there is some sort of something that happens when the essence is shared between too many items that you can then take advantage of, whether it is like an explosive property.
Oh, depending on if you happen to photocopy a whole heap of dynamite, that could then become quite unstable.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously more of a direct thing, but I was more thinking like that a technique you could use is, all right, I'm gonna put this box in this block in the essence generator. I'm going to copy it 20 times, and they're all going to be stable while that thing is in the essence generator because it's like feeding essence into them all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to place them all over next to that door. But then when I pull that block out of the essence generator, now it's trying to share just its own essence between those things, and they're all going to get unstable and explode, kind of thing.
Yep.
That's sort of, it's not necessarily directly related to what it is you're copying.
Mm-hmm.
It's more this idea of too many copies, create unstable things.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
That's cool. So, where does solitaire come into it? We don't have to include it. Maybe just you can copy playing cards at some point and like fling them across the room, or maybe it's just that you're by yourself.
Yes. I mean, when you said solitaire, that's actually what got me to the idea of the Paul Jennings thing, just because of being a solitary sort of life.
Right. Yeah. I guess that makes sense. And you wanted to make a copy of yourself. Well, okay. So here's the thing in our game. Later in the game, do you end up making copies of yourself? Is there some gameplay there around? Maybe you bring in that idea of, some games have that thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to use one copy and I'm going to play out the action that copy's going to do. And then I like reset back and I can do something else so that whatever that first copy did, I can take advantage of that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that. But of course, if you copy yourself too many times, then, the same thing starts happening to you and you start, like, your vision starts fading and...
Yeah, and exactly.
Both of you have a stomach ache at the same time, and basically you need to work out a way of actually recombining. I do like the idea of maybe just touching the things together. They kind of...
Yep.
The atoms just want to recombine. Kind of like, if you remember the movie Time Cop.
Yeah.
What happened if two people touched each other from different time periods?
From different times.
They basically just... Well, I think they either melded into this grotesque being, or they just got instantly sort of destroyed, sort of thing.
Right.
Like, I kind of like the idea of it kind of almost being a Cronenberg-y sort of thing that you, as you're going through, you see some different people you can tell that they've photocopied themselves and they've touched each other, and they're just like this weird Cronenberg-y mound of flesh sort of thing. So okay, don't touch ourselves together.
Don't touch yourselves together. Yeah, maybe you can just maybe your photocopier has a kind of a recombinatory mode where you can bring the essence of something back to the original.
Yep.
And just destroy it. Because you want to give the player that ability to mess around with different solutions and that sort of thing, of course. But yeah, I do like the idea of once you get to the point of copying yourself, you can't touch them. Like, that's fatal.
Yeah, I like the idea that it shows you early on that you go to touch a single finger and your finger just sort of melds together and you have to cut it off in like a weird saw/hostel sort of thing.
Nice. Yeah, well, look, you sort of talked about it as a horror thing. Like, this could be, from a tonal point of view, this could be a horror game still. And actually that's interesting for this sort of puzzle game to go down that direction. But it makes sense with the sort of Cronenberg-ish side of things, and yeah, it's more this kind of ominous, creepy mode, like a place that you're going through, and you are finding. I don't know, for whatever reason, you have this photocopy device.
Yep.
But you're sort of finding out more about what it can do, and finding these essence generators, and like maybe it's sort of some sort of mad scientist. His laboratory you're going through or something, and it's his invention, or maybe not one person, maybe like a corporation. It's one of these things you're going through this facility, and seeing the aftermath of what's happened with the experiments with this device that you have found.
I've got to say, I just love the idea that the fact that you can use Cronenberg as a verb
now. Thanks, Rick and Morty.
And you know exactly what it is.
Yep.
Okay, I reckon we've got time for just one more.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1, click. Deserter.
Doe. A deer. A female deer.
So doe.
The word is doe. Yeah.
D-O-E. Obviously. Given your little
Sound of Music
melody.
reference.
Mm-hmm. So a deserter. That's interesting then. I'm trying to think of what sort of gameplay you can get out of a deer rather than going down a strictly narrative path, although obviously deserter implies something about their past or what where they're coming from. Obviously the doe has actually have to be the character.
Okay, I'm getting a very Horizon Zero Dawn sort of feel to it. That it's sort of like not an anthropomorphic world, but more of like a Lion King-y sort of world without talking. So,
yep, okay,
it's more through mime and that sort of stuff. Not necessarily, they're
not like invisible walls and
but
ropes
more,
that they're pulling on,
but more everything
just
is
body
acted
language,
out. Body language, and you play a female deer who's deserted like the herd.
Okay. Almost, so that's giving me a bit of a vibe around. It's one of these kind of introspective, kind of like Journey or something, where you're, there's no dialogue, but in this case, maybe more of an open world that you're exploring as this doe.
Yeah,
and that's.
I like the idea that there could be other packs of deer sort of around that.
Yeah, or other animals and
that
things.
You're trying to stay away from because,
right,
you've been marked as a deserter sort of thing. And so therefore they're attacking you sort of thing.
So how are we going to get across what's actually happening in this world? And what sort of gameplay are we talking here? I can kind of picture being able to gallop through fields and explore this world and kind of stay, keep your distance away from other herds of deer. But how do we set goals?
Well, I think what you actually find out is that through the little bits and pieces, you actually find out that this doe is pregnant, and she's on the run sort of thing from her family.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of, I don't know, maybe you can have some small flashbacks as to what happens to, the young of these doe basically being, put into, I don't know, training to like hunt and kill things, and I know you can have.
Ooh, I kind of like the idea of this like sort of bloodthirsty herd of deer.
Yeah.
Where, the leaders of this herd, they're soldiers basically, and they're forcing everyone else to follow them.
Yeah,
I like the Lion King comparison. In that this is Scar after he's taken over, but obviously it's deer, and pushing the herd into ways that it didn't want to go in, and it's for his own.
And I like the idea of this deer sort of trying to basically just escape, and maybe it can be a shortish sort of game, as in not a 30-hour epic sort of thing, but more of a you're escaping this sort of area. You're trying to escape to this beautiful, pristine forest that you can sort of think of, like in Lion King, and I kind of like the idea of like these different animal groups that you're sort of trying to escape, and finally you come across like this beautiful pristine forest, and you
you have your child there.
You have your child there, and all of a sudden you realize that this is actually still part of the Disney universe, as you realize that it's the start of Bambi.
Oh my god. As the hunter comes from around the corner of the tree.
Yeah, and you realize that humans were also in this world. And
oh my God. Oh, yes. I fucking love the idea of having this beautiful game with all this amazing animation, and you get so attached to this fucking deer who's escaped from this, you know, it's tragic, obviously, but yeah, it ends up just being killed by a human hunter.
You realize, oh shit,
Jesus fucking
there's
Christ,
a lot of crazy shit happening in the background of Bambi.
Oh. That's our second. I think that's our second Secruel. This episode.
I thought about it halfway through, and I'm like, I've got to be able to bring this in.
All right. Well, on that horrific note, I think we'll end the episode. If you want to find us online and go listen to our other episodes, the best place to go is podchaser.com/bitstorm. You can, as I said, you can find all our previous episodes there. You can check out some other podcasts that we've guested on. Just follow our creator links. There. Speaking of that, there is an episode that should probably maybe be out by now of Comedy Rewind, a new 8-bit podcast done by John O'Peck, where he goes back and talks about movies from the 90s, comedies from the 90s. We had the pleasure of recording an episode where we spoke about Kevin Smith's Clerks. So definitely go and check that out. And as I said, we are also part of the 8-bit network. I may not have actually said we're part of the 8-bit network, but we are part of the 8-bit network. This is a group of podcasters who are mostly about video games, but a number of other things. As I said, there's Comedy Rewind, there's some wrestling and NBA podcast out there. There's a few different things. And we all kind of help each other out and hang out, and we've met some great people through that. So go to 8bit.net to check that out.
Yes, and if you like video games like we do, then I recommend that you check out the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. It is a group of like-minded individuals who love video games and basically try to help each other out by producing awesome podcast content. So check out at AGP Network on Twitter, or look for the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook. And finally, we'd like to thank Kuridas for the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I am Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I know not foo.